toxic boss can significantly hinder your growth at work and bring a deep negative impact on various aspects of your life, like your mental health, your mental strength, productivity, overall job satisfaction. So in this video, we are going to discuss the 8 traits of a negative and toxic boss and how to navigate them on the way to your well-desired promotion. Hey, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your very first time stopping by, kindly consider subscribing and pressing the bell, and you will be notified every time I post a new video on matters leadership, professional growth, and career advancement. So happy to have you here. So you have all it takes to move on to the next level, but standing between you and that promotion is a boss who's not willing to provide opportunities for learning and development. He wants to discourage you from taking risks. He's doing everything possible within his power to limit your career progression. It is important to know when you're dealing with that toxic boss so that you can increase your chances of getting promoted despite their vote. We have this South African proverb that says, "Never beat a snake if you haven't identified its head." You can only navigate a toxic boss once you've identified his traits. You ready? Let's dive in. The very first trait of a toxic boss is micromanagement. And this occurs when your boss is obsessed with controlling, monitoring, interfering with your work, insisting on being updated on every minor detail. Does your boss keep on checking on you? Sometimes even several times a day. They want to be updated on everything that you've done since you arrived in the office up until that time. Or sometimes they just give you overly detailed instructions on tasks that can be accomplished using your own judgment and creativity. You do your best, but it's not enough in their eyes unless they make changes to your work. And you'll notice their struggle to delegate without maximum supervision. The fact that they're not in the office does not mean that their eyes are not in the office, but this just shows their lack of trust in your abilities. With a micromanager, you're going to start feeling stifled. You're going to start feeling suffocated. You're going to start feeling powerless, undermined, and even discouraged from thinking independently. And you want to ask yourself, is my boss operating from an abundance loophole, or is this a case of scarcity mindset? It is a case of scarcity mindset. So they could even be dealing with their own insecurities, but the earlier you set the boundaries for autonomy, the better. You want to demonstrate your skills as an independent thinker, someone who can work and be trusted to deliver high quality work. This brings us to the second trait of a toxic boss, and it is lack of communication. A boss who fails to communicate feedback, expectations, or important information with his team can cause an environment of uncertainty and confusion. Just imagine receiving information like, make sure the report is good. What does that mean? Do you want it longer? Do you want it shorter? Is there information that I must add? Is there information that I have to omit? What are the specifics? Or even your boss deciding to change his mind midway through a project without cluing you in and deciding that you understand what the expectations are. The last thing you want is to feel unsure of what is expected of you, because this is going to lead to inefficiencies and even more confusion. How often does your boss provide performance reviews, or does he do it annually such that you don't even have an opportunity to grow professionally throughout the year? Then there's the kind of feedback that you can receive that is too harsh but not helpful, or too generic to be actionable, like you need to do better. What are the specifics? How well are you celebrated in that organization? Do you feel like your work is acknowledged? I came from the aviation industry, and one of the highlights of my career were the days when our bosses could just call us into the office to give us a compliment letter, hand to hand. This is something that they could have done. They could have put it in the mailbox and it could have arrived at our homes. Or they could have still put it at the reception and we could have picked it on our way to the next destination. But the fact that they called us in, spent a few minutes just to tell us what an asset we are to the organization, went a long way. Compliments work wonders. And how about bosses who keep crucial information to themselves, like not communicating with their team about a client requirements up until the last minute, where there's not so much time to adjust? this is the kind of behavior that is going to cause confusion and frustration over your roles. So what you want to do is to proactively ask these questions. Get detailed explanations from your boss right from the beginning. What are the specifics? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to add? What don't you want me to add? So that everything is clear right from the beginning. Toxic trait number 3 is favoritism, and this occurs when your boss shows preferential treatment to one group of employees while completely disregarding another group. The downside here is that the non-favored employees are going to start feeling unmotivated. They're going to feel undervalued, and this is a recipe for resentment within the team. This is also the same thing that is going to make them disconnect psychologically from the organization. Favoritism can manifest in the form of nepotism, favoring family, cronyism, close associates and friends, political favoritism, where you have the same political affiliations as your boss, or even social favoritism, where you have social connections and interactions with your boss. You'll notice that there are certain employees who are included in social activities. They are invited to informal meetings, lunches, where important information and networking opportunities are shared while you are excluded. And these are the same people who are going to be consulted and involved in decision-making processes, giving them more visibility. Sometimes it can even go as far as forming cliques within the organization, which is to your disadvantage. This can lead to cases of BPRR, biased performance reviews and recognition, where the performance reviews are manipulated in favor of certain employees regardless of their actual performance metrics. Have you ever noticed some of your colleagues who receive such positive reviews, but you cannot compare it with their actual productivity, with their actual contribution in the organization? Or those who are highly recognized and praised in public forums and meetings while you are receiving negative feedback and criticism. So you want to maintain a high performance at all levels. Give your boss that chance to see you working in your element without diluting your standards. Toxic trait number 4 is blame shifting, and it goes hand in hand with unrealistic expectations. If you've ever worked under a boss who doesn't take responsibility for his actions and blames all the other people for his failures, you might just have encountered a toxic boss. And working under such a boss is going to dilute your morale at work. You're going to be afraid of making mistakes because you know that you are the scapegoat. You are going to be blamed. You're going to be afraid of taking risks, which is going to stifle your growth within the organization. So what you want to do is to start communicating loudly and transparently about your actions and decisions. You may equally set unrealistic expectations like waylaying unattainable goals or even demanding excessive hours from you, which is a recipe for burnout, low quality work, and eventually high turnover rates within the organization. The unrealistic expectations are just going to drive you closer to the door. You're safer putting your foot down and communicating your workload capacity and limits clearly, and then getting on with the task at hand. So if you're receiving value from this video, I would love to hear from you. Just put for me in the comments, toxic boss, if you have ever dealt with a toxic boss in your career, or even if you're dealing with one right now. Leave for me a comment, any light bulb moments that you're receiving. I'd love to hear about it. This brings us to toxic trait number 5, which is lack of support and disrespectful behavior. So here's a case where your boss offers little to no support or resources to help you succeed in your role. If there are no resources, performance is going to suffer. If your performance suffers, frustration is going to check in. And if frustration checks in, professional growth is going to be stifled. So in some cases, if you're dealing with a narcissistic boss, there's also disrespectful behavior that is going to manifest in the form of bullying, yelling, or even using belittling comments. Show up in the form of personal insults like, are you really that stupid? Or mocking your abilities Do you really know what you're doing? Or criticizing your effort, is that the best that you can do? Or sometimes just comparative put downs, why don't you work like Susan in Department X? Or sometimes it's just public shaming where they use you as an example that people should not emulate. Whatever you do, do not retaliate. You want to keep a detailed record of all the insults and the belittling behavior should you need it at a later date to defend yourself. This brings us to toxic trait number 6, which is unpredictable mood swings. So you'll notice that there are bosses who display erratic behavior that causes a stressful environment within the workplace, like sudden anger outbursts over minor issues. You'll find them yelling at your colleagues or even yelling at you, throwing things in the air out of frustration, criticizing you harshly, reprimanding people out of the blue. So you find that people become so careful around these people that they will be walking on eggshells, minimizing communication so that they do not trigger the anger. With this boss, you may also experience unpredictable praise and criticism. And this is where they swing between overly praising you and harshly criticizing you without any rationale. So what you want to do is to stay calm, stay composed, and identify and avoid the triggers that are going to cause the mood swings. Credit stealing is toxic trait number 7, and here's a case whereby your boss takes undue credit for somebody else's work or for somebody else's ideas. Just imagine a boss presenting a piece of work like his own despite the significant contribution of another team member. A good example: you spend weeks, maybe days, maybe months developing a marketing strategy, a strategy that goes ahead, generate massive revenue for the organization. The company is smiling because of the money that has come in. But when your boss is presenting it to higher management, your name does not feature anywhere. Nobody talks about you. So he's implying that he did the work. He's the one who deserves the recognition. This is going to leave you feeling enraged. This is going to leave you feeling betrayed. Your work has not been recognized. You have not been given the credit that you deserve. There are also other scenarios where the boss publicly ignores the contributions of other team members. So you find that you have all worked collaboratively, but when it comes to the boss doing the presentation, he only talks about his major contribution, what he did, dismissing everybody else who participated in bringing the results. This means that he's downplaying your input and is putting you on the side while he's putting himself on a pedestal. This is where speaking up becomes a necessity. You want to address the situation directly and professionally. And what you're going to do is you're going to wait for the person to finish speaking. Then, you strike when the iron is hot. So you say, I'm glad that everybody is happy with the contribution that I made, with the project that I came up with. And I would even be happier to discuss it further. We have this African proverb that says, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. So you want to be recognized for your work. You want to be recognized by your colleagues, your subordinates, and your superiors for your rightful contributions. So this brings us to toxic trait number 8, which is lack of integrity. And this is a case where your boss engages in unethical behavior and may even encourage you to participate in the same. It ranges from behavior like, manipulating information, lying about the company policies, or even lying about the company performance, falsifying reports, participating in fraudulent activities, embezzlement, name it, the list is long. This is the kind of behavior that is going to erode trust between employees and management, leading to a lack of confidence in leadership. So what you want to do is to familiarize yourself with the workplace policies on this kind of behavior, and then know your legal rights so that you are always protected. So having looked at the above traits, it is time for you to position yourself to navigate your way into that promotion that you so rightfully deserve. And to start you off, you are going to keep a detailed record of your accomplishments, of your contributions within the organization, any positive feedback that you have received from clients and even from your colleagues, because this is going to prove useful during those performance reviews and when you're discussing your evolution within the company with higher management. And then regularly seek constructive feedback from your colleagues and even from your boss to show that you are willing to improve and to grow professionally. Establish positive relations with your colleagues, with your bosses, with other stakeholders who can actually support and advocate for your promotion. And then invest in yourself. You want to take up extra trainings, certifications, sharpen your skills so that by the time a door opens for a promotion, you are already prepared. You have done your background check and you are good for that promotion. And then you want to communicate, keep the communication lines open, that you are ready to be promoted, you are doing everything possible, and you do not want to assume that your bosses or those in higher management know that you want to get a certain position just because you've been in the organization for this number of years. Communicate with them and let them know that you are doing everything possible in the background to secure your promotion rightfully. Despite that toxic environment, you want to keep it professional. Look around and ask yourself, am I ever going to be promoted? If you see that that is not feasible, then consider lateral moves where you move into another department that corresponds with your strengths, corresponds with your skills, and a department where you can also add new skills to yourself that is going to help you move to a higher position. If your boss's behavior is severely affecting your ability to work, then this is where you want to get the human resources department involved. You want to see if you can get any help from there. And if that is not possible, then there's the option of looking outside of the organization, explore new opportunities outside of the organization. Sometimes all we need is just a fresh start with a new perspective, and everything is going to fall into place. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. See you on the next one.